Morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good
Thank you for
morning.
joining us.
Good to see everyone.
Yes. I have my husband on again today.
She allowed me
It
back.
is April. It is another month, and he'll be with me once a month
Oh,
to talk about our subject.
okay.
We had an amazing time last month discussing blended families. It's just where I've come from and what we were able to do with our blended family. So we had an amazing discussion on blended families. I hope you were able to tune in and to enjoy it. So we're going to continue our discussion about family, focusing on the family. And because of my experience with my family, I wanted to delve into a subject that I think is very relevant to being patient, and that is the subject of losing a loved one, and in my case, losing a sibling. So, when I was 23 years old, I lost my older brother. His name was Raymond Kelly, and he was very dear to all of us. So, losing him caused shifting in our family, caused a lot of heartache. Of course, losing anyone that is close to you causes a lot of heartache. It opens up a whole process of mourning. And as I thought about that, looking back, it's been over 20 years now, but looking back on that situation, I'm learning that it takes patience to go through that process. And we're just going to talk a little bit about being patient with yourself, loving yourself to the point that you can be patient enough to get through the process of mourning and the process of actually adjusting to a loved one not being around. So I think it's an important subject to delve into. And so we're just going to talk very briefly about the Beatitude. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. So with that baseline,
Well, I
give
think
us a
that's
little of what you think about that
I think
subject.
that within the Beatitudes and the whole discussion of losing or loss or grief, I think this is a great time to kind of discuss, finding love in grief. Like, where is love in death? And how do you find or appropriate love properly in death, in transition, in grief? You using a sibling, for me, it was my father and my mother.
Yes.
And both of them, love both of them. They love me. I think I'll never have anyone love me as much as my father. I'll never have anyone love me as much as my mother. So I think that love from a male, will never be matched or equaled. And I think that love from my mother will never be matched and or equaled. But it's amazing to me the way in which I appropriated the grief and how I dealt with it. The first time when my father died, the love that I had for him in his loss, I pursued and went after work. I went right into work mode, and for me, my ability to love and find that love and the gap and the grief and the mourning was so tremendous for me. It caused me to, oh my goodness, I just started working, and I think it was almost 3 years, literally 3 years into after his death, and realizing that I did not properly grieve. I did not properly mourn his death. And there I was in the office, overwhelmed, trying to do some work.
And it hit you.
And it hit me. And when it hit me, literally, I was on the floor, cuddled up, balled up like a baby in a fetal position
Yes.
for at least 2-3 hours, literally just crying. And it happened through a statement, like, "Oh my God, I wish my father was here. I need my dad." And when I said it, I heard myself saying it, and then it clicked. Like,
It's not here.
he's not here. I need my father. I've needed him the entire time that he has been not here and dead. And whoa. And that just broke me and it put me in another whole place. And I think that is completely different than when my mother died, because when my mother died, it was pure, it went right to grief.
Yes.
It went into a level of mourning that I did not see ever in my life. And then, of course, the dynamics of my family or my sisters, they couldn't appropriate it right. My mother's death for us was not handled right. And I know it wasn't. And I think that even sharing today, I think it's essential that people look for love in grief. Because if you don't pursue and find love in it and believe that they're blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. If you don't think that there's a comforter coming, you'll find your own level of comfort. You'll self-medicate through all types of things and situations, and you'll skip a stage, or you'll misappropriate love and find yourself in situations that I can see now were insurmountable, because death of a loved one is actually the end of a love affair. So to lose someone you love and to lose them abruptly, or to lose them over time, I don't know which one was worse, but I can say this, there is no void, there's no place or no way possible to fill that void unless you look for love. And I think that is an essential place for us to kind of discuss finding love in grief. Like what is a proper way to manage the death of a loved one, and how do you have that patience to go through the process of losing a loved one, and finding that love, because you need it. You need it. I didn't need to work. I didn't need to just grieve. I needed love and to be loved. And I think that's essential. Looking at all the different pieces and what shifted in that time period, I think this is a very good place to discuss and talk.
Yes. You mentioned so many things that I can hone in on. One is it's an end of a love affair. A love affair, when you lose a loved one, is the end of a love affair. And I think that in thinking about love, in mourning a loved one that you've lost, the void is so great. It's so great. And trying to find love to fill that void is, I think, a very essential part. And in thinking about that, I was thinking about your process with your father. Let's start there. Your process with your father. You went right to work. I mean, you took care of business. You did skip steps in your mourning process.
Oh, absolutely.
And I believe that as your spouse, as your wife, I had to allow you to handle it in the way that you felt you should handle it.
And that's
I had
huge.
to.
That's
I had to
patience.
back up
Wow.
and allow you to do that. Is there a proper way to grieve? Is there a proper way to handle it? The shock of it, the instant decision that we know is God's. How do we handle that? Is there a proper way? Of course, we know there's stages to grief, but is there a proper way in that instant in time? You handled it the way that you were able to.
I think that's good.
Yes.
I think that the proper way is going back to, not just to sound like I'm just following the program of the show, but love is patient. You have to be patient with the individual that's experienced the grief, because it's kind of hard to say what is right or what is wrong or what stages they need or didn't need. And to be honest, all of what happened to the church or church members in the first 3 years or 3 or 4 years, for me, I wasn't trying to love, I wasn't trying to hate anyone, but I was not going out of my way to be loving to the membership or the congregation. I was trying to manage their grief by assuring them that I would keep working and that I would maintain the church, the vision of the church and the ministry. And some members needed a phone call.
Yes.
Some members needed a conversation. Some members needed to be reaffirmed. And hey, do you care about us? Do you, I mean, we see you preaching, we see you here, we see you committed to the ministry, but are you committed to us? And I think their impatience with not giving me time to grieve, and then my lack of patience of them not understanding of this transition backfired on everyone. I think it created a very toxic ministry experience for many people, and not just members, but for you, my kids, my family. Where how do I say to you, right? You're talking. We have 3 teenagers now, right? Two teenagers 10 years ago. So you got they're beginning junior high and high school, a time when they need a level of support and you need a level of support. And I'm looking at you and the kids telling you guys basically, hey, I got to take care of this church, you know, and for you to lock in to the children, for you to lock into my assignment means it shows your love and the level of patience you have with me, but in the same breath, it was a form of abuse and neglect to you and the kids because, again, I did not know how to appropriate grief. I didn't know how to mourn. And then it's amazing that people talk, and it's almost as if he wasn't my father, you know, as if I didn't lose anything. The way in which people were dealing with the death was they lost a pastor, they lost Bishop Moles, and they're stuck with me. And I'm trying to say, no, we're stuck with each other because I lost a father. I lost a father and a pastor. And I know for many of you, you know, he was the only father you had.
Right.
And for me, 2010 created a chapter in my life I never heard of. I've never not had a father.
Never expected it.
I've
heard
never,
of this.
ever not had a
Never
father.
experienced that.
And I'm telling you, the level of nakedness that was present in my life became most imminent in less than 2-3 weeks. Because for the first time in my life, I was fatherless.
Yes.
So I don't know how to function. And I did not know how to function. And now it's 10 years, 11 years later. I'm still learning how to function
Yes.
without him being present. Because a father, because you have to be patient to be a good father, right? A father covers.
Yes.
A father protects. A father corrects. And one of the things that people, that I, like, perfect example, I love you, I'm angry with you, you let me down, and I'm going to pay your tuition for Morehouse. As a teenage father, with the young lady that I told you not to be with.
Right. I'm
That's-
disappointed, but my job is still to cover you.
And to cover.
So,
and
you know,
I'm saying to
I
you,
told you about this. You did it anyway. I'm disappointed. However,
yes.
I still got business with you. I still have to cover you.
How do you
Absolutely.
function when that love is lost?
Yes.
And see, I think that becomes a big question. And even to turn it another way, let's go the other way. The loss of your brother, right? How did you appropriate it? How did you adjust that loss? Because he was a covering for you.
Right,
He
absolutely.
protected you from all of what you said was going on in high
Right.
school. And when you entered the high school, he made it clear, this is my sister and she's off limit. I mean, how do you describe that loss and everything that he was and what he provided for you? How did you transition through it?
I think I just grieve. I think it was more of a grief, a sorrow, a deep longing for that situation to be reenacted. Like, who's gonna do this? Who am I gonna talk to? I went as far as, oh my God, my kids are not gonna have an uncle. You know, who's gonna experience this gregarious person? He was, for those of you who do not know him, he was Kenneth Moles Jr. a street version of Kenneth Moles Jr. His personality was just that.
And we would have hit it off
And
like
they
like
would have
nobody's
hit it
business.
off,
Oh
and
my
that's
goodness.
probably the main attraction to my husband is because I love my brother so much, and we got, our personalities were very different, but I just adored him because of his personality. And I told you before, I think that was one of the main attractions because wow, he acts just like my brother. He's
Lights up the room and comes in.
yeah,
with it.
he is a magnet just like my brother. He is everything that my brother's personality represented. So I longed for that immediately. And I could say now, looking back on it, I was second born with two sisters to follow. But now that he's gone, I am the oldest. So my role changed in our
Okay.
family structure. So that's something else, I have to be there kind of looking out. Although I'm female, I'm kind of looking out for my sisters, so to speak. So my role changed, and just like your role
Plus
changed.
his kids. Plus the kids.
Yeah, and then I had two nieces. I have two nieces that, my role became, I'm not just auntie, almost like I'm not just auntie anymore. I'm like looking like a hawk over them. Like I am trying to find my brother again and his children.
Wow,
I adored them anyway, as an aunt would do.
And they're
While
adorable.
these are my brother's children,
They're adorable. I love
I
them.
absolutely adored them. Always, Yes, Teray and Rainice always, went to visit them and all of that, but it became really strong, trying to get them every weekend and didn't want to move up here because of them and some other things. But I began, kind of watching them like a hawk, which led into them coming a couple summers up here and, just me trying to actually find him in them, if that makes sense to somebody that has that same type of loss, a sibling. That was how I handled it. I think I tried to do more for them, and that made me feel better about my loss of him, if that makes sense. But I had a deep grief, a deep longing for this brother that lit up all of our lives.
So
greatly.
let's discuss, if we could, then what is the proper approach and response to this longing, to this grief? How does love respond? How could we encourage others to be more loving or more patient in the time of grief with these transitions? I think one thing I would say to what you're saying, I would challenge your siblings, your sisters, if I was there in that moment now, to say, hey, I need you to be patient with Ina because she's taking on a new role and she's trying her best and she's gonna do things and it's not gonna be right. And it's no reflection on her love for you or what you mean to her, but she is the new person that's kind of taking over. I think that would be something that I would say is essential in grief, and finding love in grief is giving people space to grow,
Redefine,
to
yes.
redefine themselves,
And
to
I
grow
think
into it.
that's actually good because, there's so many different pieces to this, but among me and my sisters, we often talk about that. And I'm going to bring one of my sisters on who does want to express some things.
Who's coming on?
Nikki. She
Nikki.
agreed to come back on to express
Okay.
some of her
And what's up, Nikki?
feelings about our loss. But one of the things that we talked about was the personality differences between us and similarities. Me and my youngest sister are more alike. If you saw the blended family series that we did on our bonding process, me and my younger sister are a lot of like, but my Nikki, the oldest of the two, and my brother, their personalities were a lot alike. So she felt a deeper void almost because she's like, hey, he left me by myself.
Wow. Okay.
He left me by myself. And she says, in her words, I'll let you describe it, but in her words, we were so much alike. And not that I'm alone. I have an older sister still, and I have a younger sister still. But wow, he's gone. And we were the ones that, we could talk about things that I couldn't share with my sisters because we were so alike. So
That's crazy.
just talking about our sister, our relationship between the sisters, yes, we often talk about that. How could we help each other through this? Everybody suffered a loss. How does my younger sister feel? Her older brother, she just adored and also was, felt that was the ultimate protection for her. The older of the two, Nikki, who she has a camaraderie that me and Nisha didn't have with him. So we're trying to be patient with each other and help each other through this and support each other. Now, the other part of this was our parents. My dad lost his only son. So,
Jesus.
that's another piece where the family is also supporting my dad and lifting up his arms and making sure he's all right. He lost his only son. He lost his only son. So these are so many different pieces that we have to deal with, not to mention, it's odd, but we didn't have to deal with his mother because his mother was so ill when he left this earth that she had no idea that he even died. And she died, ironically enough, she died 3 months after him.
After the son.
Yeah, she was
Wow.
so sick, she didn't even realize it. She didn't even realize. So that was a piece we didn't have to deal with. However, so sad, and he had other siblings that we've never even met yet. But that's another piece. Hey, they knew him, grew up with him for a span of time, and now they lost him. So there's so many different parts to this grief process and trying to support each other and find the love, find and seek out love for each other that this person once felt, that
Yes.
once emanated. And I want to go back to something that you said about when Bishop passed away, your dad passed away, in taking over the church. You showed your love by working, but you mentioned that your love was lacking in that you didn't contact certain members and you didn't contact people as they were expecting you to. But you did you did what you could. You did show love. You did. That was the way that you could show it.
Yes.
That's the love that you could show.
I think
and
that's
trust
huge.
me, everybody appreciated that. They're like, how is he doing? I remember members saying, how is he doing this? How is he preaching every Sunday? How is he functioning? So they did pick up that love. Of course, how could you reach out? How could you extend yourself in the way that you thought that you could? But I believe that you did show love, and they felt that. Who could feel such a large void of a man that was pastor, a bishop, a father to many, a confidant, a friend, a husband, a dad, just a man that was so much to so many people. But I think you did an excellent job in handling your grief, although it wasn't a perfect way to handle it. What is the perfect way to handle it?
Right.
Because he was so many things to you: a father, a mentor, a confidant,
The best man
the
at my wedding.
pastor, the best man at your wedding.
The best man at my wedding.
All right, an amazing grandfather, an amazing father-in-law to me. I mean, just an amazing man. So many, such a huge void. But I think you did an amazing job in loving the people, in still covering your family. Although that was a very trying time to love you through your process of how you needed to deal with so many different voids that the death of your dad left.
And I think it's that point that I forgot to hit on, and I appreciate that and seeing that the effort was there. One of the things that did work well with his death was my mother was present with that patient love.
Yes, she was.
She was there,
Absolutely.
anchoring everyone with comfort.
Anchoring everyone.
I mean, and okay, so let me get away from me and my sister, my cousin. She comforted Nicole Maycomb. Right? She comforted Sister McMillan. She comforted Mark Bavard. She comforted Sneed and Sigmund and Bonnie and Elder Tina. She comforted, and I think that, and it's a sickness, and I want to kind of mention it without giving it too much energy, but at the death is when people attacked us. The church, the ministry, the family. But because her love was patient, my mother was there. And I can hear her like yesterday saying, my husband gave you guys years. Can you give my son a year?
Yes.
Can you give my son a chance? I can hear my mother pleading with members, pleading with our critics, pleading with those that were looking to tear the church apart. Could you give my son some time? Could you be patient? Can you please be patient?
It's powerful.
And I mean,
Powerful.
I can hear her saying this, of course she don't even know I'm around. I can hear her telling people, can you give him a chance? And for many of the answer was no. And for a great deal was no. But the reality was she was that anchor to steal the storm.
Absolutely.
And when she died, there was no one still in the storm. When she died, it was open. Everyone was like, now let's take the rest of whatever we haven't destroyed. Let us go after it. Because there was no one saying, hey, can we be patient? Can we slow down? Can we no, we gonna take this, we gonna fix this, it turned into, oh, this is great. She being Lady Peggy Moles, the co-founder, the matriarch of the family, she is not there to calm everything. And she wasn't just amazing to us, right? When my father died, a family member died in the Simpson family. She was at a funeral.
Yes, she was.
She was at a funeral for her family side of the family
Absolutely.
because Lady Moles was the comfort to the Simpson family, right? So she was everything on that side and on this side, and she was able to, again, bring peace. And I remember, without giving names, I remember going to her house to have dinner and seeing someone I did not like, or seeing someone that had created themselves as an enemy of the ministry, or was one of my major critics, and that I'm not gonna, and to walk in and see them at the house almost vexed me. It messed up my peace, right? And I'm like, I gotta be here with this. But I knew her intent was no.
You're gonna have a seat.
You're gonna have a seat. This is my house, and I'm gonna have peace in my house.
That's right.
And I'm gonna bring peace with enemies. Now we're in a soul food moment through my food.
That's it. You're gonna sit
You're
down.
gonna sit because I know you. You're not gonna leave because I cooked, and they're gonna come because I invited them because I cooked. And
That was
through
her
this,
way.
that's her way of navigating the peace and making sure she comforted everyone. And then she didn't come in there from the kitchen. Now let me just let everybody know, y'all gonna no. She just came in,
In her
cooked the
way.
food in her way.
In her way.
And while we were eating, we're talking about soul food now. Yeah, while we're eating, how do you not talk to somebody with them ribs and
have
that tea?
She created that moment of peace. And I
Yes.
think although she is gone, and a lot of that is gone, she instilled enough of herself in others that although you didn't see a big movement of people supporting you, we were there.
Oh no,
We
I
were
definitely
there
will.
supporting you.
Oh yeah.
We were there because we have the piece of Peggy Moles in us. Many of us have her spirit within us. And we were trying to calm storms that were coming up. We were trying to cook food that soothed the savage beasts, just like
And-
Lady Peggy Moles did. And although, some things have transpired that would never have gone on if she was here, you still got supporters calming the storm. It was taking us a little longer to do it.
Yeah. And I think-
However, but she left enough seeds so that people are supporting
and,
this effort.
and I think it's essential
Her
to
love will never die.
no, not
Her
just
love
that.
will never die.
Love can't die, and I
Yes.
think that it's important to see and to watch those transitions, and to be
Yes.
able to say, and to see that there is a way to be comforted,
Yes.
and there is a way to even find love in grief.
Yes.
And there's a place, there's a way. I cannot.
to find
I mean, how? What do you say to an overwhelmed situation when all looks like no one's around? Here comes Bernadette knocking on my door, making sure the bathrooms are clean, and cleaning up Lady Moses' office. And she doesn't like the way the church looks. And if my mother were alive, her words,
That's right.
she would be appalled. I came by and saw this, so I had to do things like that. Just brought you, immediate comfort. Like, you know what? You're right.
Love.
That's
Finding
it.
love in the grief.
Like, yes, you
Yes.
gotta find. Thank you. You're so on it, and that's so essential. Brother Johnny August instead of Joan, the way in which they responded in this time. And he was able to comfort me and say in a very peaceful way, you know, I know what's going on to you and what the plans are, but
I'm here.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm not going. I'm gonna comfort. I'm gonna be here. And I think that those want to be attitudes, right? Blessed are them that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Like, listen, you have to know, no matter how bad it is, no matter what the situation is, who it is you've lost. If you give it time, you'll be comforted.
Amen.
You will be comforted.
Yes, and I think this is an amazing way to handle this. You gotta find the love in the situation. You gotta seek it out. It'll come to you, and then you have to accept it. So whatever way it comes, look for it. Look for the love in the grief, and be patient with yourself. I think that's an amazing way to handle. It's self-love, to be patient with yourself, even in a time of grief. We have a couple examples that we're going to share with you this month of persons that I've chosen to share their story of grief and how they put that energy into something powerful that they can allow that person that they lost to live on. Of course, we're doing it with continuing the ministry and doing everything that we can, that we know our founders would want us to do in this season. I have my nieces coming on, my brother's children, they're coming on, and one.
Wait. Let's plug them. Their business.
Yes,
Was it
that's what they're
Soil-
going to talk
Soil
about.
Sisters, right?
Yes, Soil Sisters.
So before they
They
come,
have
jump
their
on
own
them. Check them out.
business,
Check them
yes.
out on Instagram.
Soil Sisters.
My
The
nieces-
Kelly Girls.
Kelly
Check them
Girls.
out.
They're amazing.
They're
right?
going to come on and.
I love you guys. They're the sweetest thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. They're going to come on. Although they were very small when their dad died, they do have some memories of him. And they are presently connecting with him through other family members. They're connecting with him through this business that they know he would be so proud of. In fact, my bonus mother, my stepmother, gave the property where my dad lived for many, many years, 835 Gearing Avenue. His house burnt down several years ago, and that plot of land was given to Renice and Teray to cultivate this farmland. They cultivate it there. I'm not sure if their greenhouse is on that property yet, and they'll be able to come in and tell you all about that. But a part of their business, they're dedicating to their father and to the Martin family and to their the memory of their dad. So they'll come on and talk about that. I have Latrice Scott, a friend of mine, that's going to come back on. She gave her amazing story of her blended family. She lost her sister some years ago, and she's going to talk more about losing a sibling. And then I have Dominique coming back on, our daughter, who just like me.
Hi, Dominique.
Just like me, she lost her older brother. So she's going to talk just a little bit about that experience and about a foundation that she is building now called Leave a Mark. So she's dedicating this foundation to her brother. I'm going to let her talk to you about that. So these are things, these are positive things that you can take some of that energy and put it right into honoring the family member that was lost. And that's one way
That's good. You can
of finding love.
Finding love.
And
In
being
grief.
patient with yourself and taking
grief,
care of yourself, finding love in grief.
Yes, and a loss. And listen, I think it's a great opportunity to just kind of spotlight and just share with everyone persons that you lose or that die. And I say this to the high heavens, and I'll say this in closing and be finished. It is better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. So, starting with who we haven't talked about yet, Big J, right? My amazing father-in-law, good guy, right?
Yes.
It is better for me to say I had met him,
Right.
loved him, he was there for me, than to say I never got a chance to meet your dad.
Absolutely.
You know, so there are things that even I have to appropriate and say, listen, out of all the fathers I could have had, out of all the mothers I could have had, for some reason, God gave me the best father and the best mother ever.
Absolutely.
And although they have passed away, they're dead, they're not with us. For some reason, God allowed me to get something my father did not have. My dad found God and loved God through his grandmother.
Yes.
And God provided me an amazing father in which to love God and to love the things of God. And then said, if that's not enough, I'm going to give you
Big
Peggy
J.
Ann Mose. Right?
Okay.
I'm going to give you your mother to just couple that with. I mean, what do you say? And I'm saying to everyone that's watching this broadcast, I feel like saying this to my big brother, Wayne Riggs. There's no one like his mother. You'll never find another one like her. And whenever we talk, and we fellowship, have breakfast or anything like that, it don't take us long to start talking about our mothers. And to him, imagine your life without her. Imagine if she was not your mother. And that is the moment, and that's what I hold in me close. When I start grieving or feel sorrowful or overwhelmed that they're
All
not
the
here.
years you had
Yes,
with her.
I go right to, but at least I had her.
Yes.
And there's so many people that didn't have a mother,
Absolutely.
but I didn't even get a regular mother. I got like a super mother. So, hey, Wayne, and those of you that have lost a loved one, to the Pugh family. I mean,
Yes.
come on, Father Pugh, Mother Pugh. You can't replace those individuals, and Cathedral will never be able to replace a Father Pugh, a Mother Pugh, a Bishop Mose, a Lady Mose,
Elder Canada.
Elder Canada. Oh, Jesus, don't get me there. We won't replace an Elder Canada. You know, you can't. But at least we can say that God gave them to us in our church.
For a time,
For a
a
time.
season.
He gave us Elder Canada. He gave us Gary Smith. He gave us Eva Wilson.
Yes.
He gave us Mother Beelan. All right, so you can't just walk. Oh, we don't like yes. For some reason, He allowed these amazing individuals to be in our lives, to love us, to birth us, to nurture us. And although they have transitioned, my challenge to you is to find love even in grief.
Even in grief. Be patient with yourself because love is patient. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.